Hi everybody, my name's Thomas Corbin and I'm a previous graduate from the Macquarie University Masters of Research program. I really wanted to be there today with you to have a chat about the program, or at least my experiences of the program, and answer any questions you might have, but unfortunately I couldn't be there today, so I just wanted to make this short video as a stand-in for that. So I just want to talk a little bit about my experiences. Obviously the program's changed a little bit. I did the program I started in 2014, so 2014-15, I think, 2015-16? No, 14-15. So things might have changed a little bit, but more or less the core way, the intention of the program has remained the same, and the broad structures remain the same. So I think what I can talk about should have some relationship to the program that you might be undertaking next year. Or whenever you're going to do it. So I'm talking about, so my experiences with the MRes program was as a stepping stone for PhD, and then academic work in some sense, some vague sense that I didn't really have a good grasp on then, and I have a slightly better grasp on today, but yeah, things are going well, thanks to the MRes program. So I was doing that. So that was my goal. So I'm going to be talking about it from that perspective. So if your perspective is different, if you're doing the MRes program from a different perspective rather than doctoral academic work, then your experience might vary, but hopefully there's something in here that's useful for you as well. So I did a honours degree before I did my master's degree at Macquarie. I did an honours degree at Sydney University, and that gave me a bit of a benchmark to understand what postgraduate work was like, what was difficult about it, what was good about it, what I liked and what I didn't like. And the challenge with honours work is the speed. You join up in whenever it starts, semester 1, February something, and you submit. I think I submitted my thesis on around my birthday, which is about September 16th, so I remember it being around then. So you get about 9 months, and in that time we did 8 units of coursework study. So coursework, postgraduate level coursework, which is quite in depth, quite fast, and also writing a 15 or 20,000 word thesis at the same time. So there was a lot of things going on. It really didn't give you a lot of chance to be able to understand what good research was about, because you were just spending so much time just trying to get research done, just trying to understand what the content was. You didn't get a chance to sit back and appreciate the tools of the discipline and really understand what the discipline was about, what actual academics do on a day-to-day basis. You didn't get a chance to talk to people and really understand where you were headed or why you were there. And the MRes program, although it does take an extra year, you get so much out of that extra year that it's absolutely worth it. So one of the things that I touched on briefly was you get the tools to understand how to do good research. Now, part of that is pretty basic. I mean, what does good research mean? How do you go about, looking up books and going through stuff? You probably, if you're at this level and you've got the marks to get into MRes, I'm assuming that you're pretty good at that. But there's a whole area, a whole world of research stuff that we don't think about as undergraduates, but really matters later on. Things like how to frame your research to get funding proposals or your PhD proposal accepted. We spend a lot of time in my Masters of Research program going through those things, presenting drafts of abstracts for journals and things like that, getting that feedback, really understanding things in a kind of really helpful educative environment. So when I left my Masters, when I went to my PhD and beyond, I had a foundation in these things, so I wasn't kind of fighting blind. And what I discovered was I had a huge advantage over students from other universities who didn't do that kind of program, who didn't understand, who didn't have the time or the understanding to know what it was like to put in a journal article or whatever. There's a whole range of important research tools that we often don't think about it as undergraduates, but really matter as postgraduates and beyond. And the Masters of Research program was really, really excellent in teaching me about that stuff. A lot of that stuff, admittedly, I was a bit cautious about. Things like research frontiers. I thought, I don't need to learn all this stuff, but I'm really glad I did. Anyway, that's one thing. The other thing was the way that the Masters of Research program is set up is that essentially in your thesis year, what you're kind of doing is setting the stage for your later work. So you do a large research thing by itself that stands up in its own right, and I've got mine standing on my bookshelf down there in pride of place, and I'm very proud of it. But it also works as a kind of foundation for later on for your PhD thesis. So my master's thesis was on Hobbes. Hobbes' account of counsel, and my PhD was on Hobbes. And I used that foundation, that full year of study, that year where I really got to grips with the understanding. I had to read Leviathan and De Kiva and all that stuff and form the foundation of what I could do for my PhD. The benefit of that was, if you, like me, are interested in doing a PhD, is that you can really hit the ground running. So I live in Victoria, and I work at Monash, and I know a lot of postgrads down there who didn't go through a similar MRes program. And what you do universally at your first year of your PhD is you spend time scrambling around trying to figure out which way's up, because you don't have the foundation, the research foundation, to know what you're working on. You don't know what questions matter, what kind of answers are interesting or important, and you need to figure all that stuff out. The MRes program is fabulously beneficial in the fact that you get to figure all that stuff out before you go into a PhD, if that's what you want to do. Now, that means that you can do better work in your PhD, but it also frees you up to do other things. So, for example, I spend a lot of time, in fact, some of you might actually know me, because I've spent such a lot of time teaching at Macquarie. I've taught for both Jenny, hi Jenny, and JP, hi JP, and for many other people in the department as well. And I don't think I would have been able to do that, to get that, on real world academic experience, if I hadn't had the MRes program under my belt, because I would have been struggling so hard to understand what my thesis program was about, how to organise myself in the academic world, and all that stuff. So in that sense, as a precursor to a PhD program, the MRes program at Macquarie cannot be beaten. The part about being at Macquarie is important as well, because Macquarie offers a fabulously embracive community. I've been to other universities, as I said, and Macquarie really does take education seriously. The staff members there really do take their students' welfare, their students' interests very seriously, and you're going to be in really, really good hands here at Macquarie. Now, one thing that you might be thinking of in terms of working at Macquarie might be online learning if COVID continues as the way it is. Now, it probably won't be. 2 years down the track, we can hope it won't be, if that's when you're doing your thesis. But I can at least mention this briefly, that I did my thesis remotely. I lived in Sydney for the first half of my MRes, and then I moved to Victoria. And so my thesis was all done remotely, and that I don't think that impacted or had a negative impact on the overall quality of my thesis. In fact, I won the Greg Henderson Prize for the best high distinction thesis at Macquarie. And I don't think it impacted my engagement with the community or anything like that, because people with my supervisor, Mike Olson, who I am meeting with currently, actually, the reason I couldn't meet here was because I was meeting with him. And that goes to show, I hope, that you do build those relationships even if you're online, because when you're working with someone in a research environment, you're bouncing ideas off each other, you're working in a really kind of close-knit relationship that can continue, and you do build those relationships at Macquarie. Whereas my experience at other universities hasn't been that you build those kind of close-knit relationships. Perhaps there's more students there and people have more commitments, or whatever the case may be. All I can say is that at Macquarie, I have universally found that the staff members there, the faculty members, are always willing to spend time, and they're always willing to do whatever they can to help out and understand and help you understand what your goals are and how to achieve them. So overall, I think the MRes program is a fabulous program to do, and I think if you're going to do it anywhere, Macquarie is the place to do it. I am sorry I'm not here to answer any kind of follow-up questions when you say, what was all that rubbish you were just talking about? But I'll ask Jenny to share my email information, and if you have any questions or you just want to chat about anything, do absolutely feel free to shoot me an email, and I can either communicate with you by that, or we can have a chat over Zoom or anything like that you may need, because I'm very happy, and I honestly am a massive true believer in the program. So I'll pass it back over to Jenny and JP, and they can continue singing its praises. But you're in good hands with them, and you'll be in fabulous hands if you decide to continue an MRes program at Macquarie. So thanks very much, everyone. Bye-bye.